everybody. You're here with Dr. Brawley and one of my great friends here, Austin.
Austin, I'm here.
Yes, we are here today.
Back.
We are back to talk about some stuff. So tell me, let's before we dive into everything, tell me something funny, something good, something grand, something crazy that happened to you this week or today.
Always involves you, all the craziness. No, I'm kidding.
Right.
Good crazy, but
just now. No.
Yeah, right. I was just thinking the other day about, I've been telling the story over and over again about our spa day that we had to treat Austin to, and you and your sister whispering like, should we tell him? Oh God, what happens at this spa?
Right.
Which it all happened, but no, nothing that crazy, but it's a different experience for me, and I learned comfortability. It was like the big thing.
Getting out your box.
I did get out of my box a little bit, so I was just thinking about, I was telling the story about the little looky-loo walking around the men's locker room and following people. I caught on to him following people around from the steam room to the sauna, back to the pool, and I'm like, oh, I think I'm picking up what's going down.
Right, what is happening here? What's happening in the, But, we talked about the spa stuff, but it's really good for my body and soul.
Yeah.
For real.
And I did, get a lot from that.
Yeah.
He took a picture of me with my crazy eyes. I was like,
staring
at the
we were
light
in
above.
the little temple thing. So for y'all to know, we actually went to a spa place, and I always tell people like it's good to like detoxify just your environment, yourself, and don't forget to journal. Put the little plug in there. But that's what we did, and we took Austin to a cool little place to take a spa day and just kind of relax. And from that, we've been on go.
I know.
Ever since spa day.
We even said that all three of us the next day. It was just like boom, 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 boom.
Business coming, just flowing. So it's been good. It's been good.
What about you?
Well, I went to the grocery store and this is what had happened. No, I went to the grocery store and I'm not, even though I have a child, I think children are cute, but I'm not necessarily in love with a bunch of little kids. So I'm gonna just be real with it. And there was a bunch of kids running around, and anybody know, my mom tells me my facial expression tells it all. And so I'm looking, and the kids have baskets, and they're all running through the store with baskets. No. And so the immediately thing I thought, and I was in their way kind of, I'm going to get hit in the back of my ankle with this basket. And I'm about to lift one of these people's children up into the air. And the basket at the same time. But it didn't happen. I just kindly say, excuse me, don't do that. So I had to, I needed that spa moment at the time. I was like,
take a breath.
Take a breath. But if you ever been hit with a basket on the back of your ankle, it'll make you just feel in a whole different way. You'll be in a whole different, fourth rim experience.
Right. Your head spins around.
Your head spins around. And you become to turn into something else.
Yeah.
But no, that was my fun experience with that. But I did quieten the kids down a little bit. And the mothers actually appreciated that. Yeah. It was like they were tired.
We need help.
Yeah, they were like, we need to stop having the babies. Stop having all those children. But that was my my fun kind of experience, because I was just thinking in my head, if this little kid hit me with this basket, it's gonna be over.
It's good to speak up though a little bit. It wasn't like a bad thing. The moms were like, we can't get them under control.
I know. The moms was like, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Can you come home?
Yeah.
Watch them for a couple of hours. Yeah. No. But so what are we diving in today? What are we about to dive in today for the people?
Yeah, commercial investments, I think.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Since I'm really starting to get into commercial quite a bit with myself. I know you've had a lot of experience with commercial over the past few years. So I think it'd be good to bring what all that entails.
What it entails.
Because every part of this industry has another 20 parts to it. So,
yes, it does. So we're going to kick off a couple of questions that are the high priority questions that a lot of people, viewers, and just people in general always ask. And we're just going to take those questions currently and just start to answer them. So what are some of the top things in that commercial investment, or where me and you can bounce off of each other and talk about it?
Right. So I think to start off is kind of doing what your business does is what part of commercial people get into. What are they, whenever you hear commercial, what is commercial?
Right.
So retail, I think of whenever I first started getting to commercial was a big building, a strip center,
right?
And that's it. You might call McDonald's commercial, but yes, that is commercial. Mm-hmm. So,
gas stations, commercial.
Right, mm-hmm. Yeah. So you have all of that, but on top of that, you have residential has commercial parts too.
Correct.
So, I think list out some things that you can think of that you would put into the echelon of commercial.
Just like what you just said. So commercial is a weird kind of funny beast, because I'm gonna throw a little caveat in there. I'm gonna throw a little twist. One of the little twists is, let's talk about incorporated and unincorporated, because a lot of times people can have, just like let's use Spring, Texas, an unincorporated area. So they'll have a residential home, and beside it or behind it or on the side of it, it has a commercial building. And then you look at their property, and you real estate. So maybe you could tell me and help me. A portion of it is real estate, but then on a big corridor, like a big, let's say like Gosselin or Spring Cypress, and then the other portion is listed as commercial properties. I've even seen that, like a divide kinda.
Right. Yep.
I don't even know what that's really called.
Yep. Well, you plat things off.
Right.
And then once you plat it off saying this is its own entity, this little block. Once you do that, then you go fight the whatever it's in. Now we have all these districts, the MUD district, property improvement district.
Right.
So you have to get all of that permission.
Right.
And then on top of that, the subsidiary or the city, the whatever town it's in,
township in charge, or something,
the township, whoever's in charge of that,
right? And
then you're just saying, hey, I want to turn this into commercial,
right?
So then it goes into if they want to set up some rules for that. So all of these houses aren't going to want to see a 20-story hotel go in behind them. If that's all that's right there, I'm not going to let anything above a few stories go up. So it's situational by situational. So a lot of people don't know that. They think, oh, I'm not going to be able to get a city to agree to let me put this in here. No, that's not true. Maybe they want, all there is houses, because this happens around here in all these master plan communities that we live in, that there's not a gas station for 15 miles because all we did was let all of these residentials come in here and developments, and now there's not a gas station. There's all these little slots left, little acres every now and then.
Right.
We're gonna have to deem them commercial at some point. So
sometimes they're deeming them commercial.
Mm-hmm. They'll decide we need to tell this person we're turning your land into commercial. You need to put something commercial on it, or you need to sell it as commercial, and then vice versa. They'll do that. So if there's too much commercial going on, housing is moving in, they're going to say, no, we're putting more houses in right here. There's too much commercial blowing out, pushing up against these housing additions. Right. We want something residential there.
So you asked me the question, like, explain like commercial and stuff like that and what's commercial to me. But what about, and I threw the unincorporated and incorporated into that sector, and we all know what corporated is, but the unincorporated is kind of like what I said with Spring, Texas, where you can buy a piece of property. Now, building codes, you have to go through Harris County and whatever to make sure your building codes are right. But if you have a piece of property that has no HOA, it has no POA, it has nothing, then you can pretty much do what you want with that land. Which, do not go out that way. No, wait till I leave that area. No, so with that said, now let's throw in. So I threw that in. What about the developmental district? Like, so Spring doesn't have a developmental district, and what you're saying, is it usually with places that have a developmental district? that do that, or?
No, so even if you are in, like you said, unincorporated, you're still going to see the county still put their 2 cents in and say, no, we're going to give you some pushback because we don't want that to happen. We see this happening.
Right.
So they still kind of govern that a little bit.
Okay.
But then whenever you start adding all these other groups that I mentioned, like a property improvement district or developmental district, that's just putting another group in charge of telling you what you can do with your land, pretty much. So then you go through them deciding. So
do they invite you to the party and say,
Not until you ask.
Right. Because that's important. Because if you're.
It is.
So this is the high level of real estate that we're talking about. Like, this is not something that we are just talking on the first home buyer. We're talking about people that sometimes own acres and acres of land in major areas that have developed around them.
Right.
All of a sudden can maybe possibly turn into commercial.
Right. And now what do I do with it? Or what can I do with it?
And the taxes on commercials higher.
Right.
Way higher.
So that'll happen. A lot of people will freak out and say, what is happening? Why are my taxes,
this is my land.
Why does it say commercial on the front 10 acres of my land all of a sudden? Or whatever that looks like for them, because it's all situational. And then you find out, all of a sudden this property improvement district popped up that the county formed or my area, and now they're saying I have to, on my road frontage, make it commercial.
Is there any? And I know we need to eventually on our podcast here get a real estate attorney
for sure
on here to answer some of the questions that many have. But in the meantime, we're going off of the knowledge that we have, and we're going to say this. Do they even really get, once again, I'm saying, do they even really get invited to the party? Like, what if those, you make these changes, can you change it back, or?
Yeah, but that's what I'm like, situation by situation. And
really?
If they have the say at the end of the day. If you say, I've owned this land forever, I'm putting a house on it. And they're like, you're not. We will stop you in every which way they can.
How can you maybe avoid, well, not necessarily avoid, that means you got a good piece of property.
Mm-hmm.
You have prime property.
Exactly.
That's what we call prime property. When you have property that, people are keeping a pulse to it.
Right.
They're keeping the pulse, and they're watching, saying, "Oh, now we're going to change that to commercial."
Right.
Because the rooftops make money for taxes, but the commercial also makes good revenue for taxes too.
Right. A lot, because it also brings a lot more to, you have sales tax. If you have businesses and come in, it brings a lot more to offer rather than just more houses.
Okay.
But it goes both ways. So I think that their main, where you see it mostly being a problem is someone that doesn't want their area to change. They're like, I've been here, we've kept it like this forever. There's no reason to bring in another or another strip mall. We have tons of strip malls.
Right.
And so that's where you see the problem with it a lot of times is that I'm not changing my land. This is supposed to be like this.
Right.
Well, sir, that's sometimes
it's changed.
The soup bowl has overflowed, and we're out here now.
So that seems to be happening in Hempstead, Texas.
Right.
It seems to be happening, and the fight. I remember the fight when, because you remember, y'all, if you watched the first segment of us, we talked about where we were from, and I watched Spring, Texas fight 99. Mm-hmm. They fought him with attorneys, y'all. Attorneys, they fought. And they fought him for a couple of years until the money ran dry, right? Mm-hmm. To not get 99 here. And guess what? We all love 99 now.
Right.
We did not want 99. Well, I'm not going to say we. I'm going to say people sometimes can resist change. But now 99 gets so much traffic.
Right.
On certain times of the day.
Right. I love it.
Yeah.
Because I'm always 15 minutes late, so.
Right. Right. So so that's interesting. So with that said, the commercial side for me is a gamut of things. So I talked about, it could be a strip center, gas stations, I gave an example of an unincorporated area that has a little bit of a residential, maybe a trailer home in the front that they staying in, and then on the side is like commercial, and they're full functioning commercial, everything in their home.
Right.
It also can be, I mean, it's just a multitude of things. It like you said, each situation is different.
Yep.
Yeah, each situation is different.
And that doesn't mean removing the homes and putting in some giant, concrete structure.
Right.
You see areas like in the Heights is popular where they left all those original homes and they just turned them into offices.
Correct.
So it looks like homes, but they got a sign up by the front door.
I do yoga.
That's a yoga studio.
I do yoga.
Yeah, all kinds of things, or just a little clothing store.
So I wonder. Well, since we brought up the Heights, and that's something good for me to look at too, because I know you're probably like me and always looking at stats and statistics and market and looking at the areas and stuff like that. That's just like you wake up like it's the stock market, and that we're constantly looking at all of those dynamics. So with that said, I wonder, are there some houses possibly in the Heights that are still residential, but they're working really, and I'm not trying to rat on y'all,
right. Don't tell them we're working
right,
on that. No.
Right. Don't send this video to Harris County, tax assessor.
Right.
But I'm just wondering because, you are right. There are a lot of homes that operate, because even think about the Tomball, Main Street.
Yeah.
It was homes at the front on Main Street, and then also Spring, Texas has like a Main Street.
Yep.
That has like little homes that they turned into.
Yeah, they kept those, and that's kind of to help keep people happy as well.
Right.
So it kind of keeps that look. Doesn't feel like you're driving through downtown with these big structures or anything like that. And it also, you create. That's what development groups form from. Is having an idea of, we should keep this look.
Right. We
want to help control, make sure it keeps that look. We're going to help buy up all of this, and we'll control the look of it. Sort of like what a master plan community does. That's why development comes in and says, I'm going to own this 300 acres or be in charge of this 300 acres.
Right.
And we're going to decide what it looks like, what it keeps, what it loses. That way, it all has a look to it, and has a feel to it, and it's a lifestyle all around there.
Right.
That's all of that for
So
us.
you are like the realtor of choice, and you are in development, and pretty much development of choice. And I've been a part of a lot of development projects, right? A lot of them. And with that said, when we talk about commercial and developing in areas, is it like prime right now because Houston is so popular and the subsidiaries are so popular? Is it prime that people are just coming here in groves? I know you have different statistics that you'll share today on other stuff, but what's your opinion about that?
Definitely. You see it a lot in, like I said, the master plan communities. That's why I keep talking about, because there are so many people moving here that there's not enough houses in Houston. What we call Houston is the Houston metro, everything around. That's why 99's there, because that's Houston now.
Right.
So you see that coming in with those companies to say, well, they're gonna need 200 more houses over here, so I'm gonna go ahead and buy out here and develop something over here because something's gonna come over here. People are gonna live in this area and have to drive in, so I'm gonna come in and do that and pick this area to do it, and can start from a blank slate because most of that's farmland out there.
Right.
That's where you see it mostly coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Others are like what I've been working on with this little group that I've formed, is finding those little pockets of that little land that someone sat on forever and ever and ever, didn't want to let it change.
Right.
Now they're toying with ideas, so we're coming in trying to find those guys and saying, hey, we want you to be part of it. We're not some giant developer that's gonna not let you have a hand in the pot.
Right.
We're gonna let you help us design this the way you want it to be, what you envisioned it. Maybe not just one house on 20 acres anymore.
Right.
But we can say, hey, help us design this. This is where our design comes from. We want to put this in. This benefits the area. Still keeps it, sort of the look that you wanted it to. And
so now what you're
have
saying
a win-win from it.
is because you've shared some very great things about the developmental of developing that way. Like that's like almost like the go-to for those in a higher bracket wealth wise. Right. So what um I mean, the takeaway, I guess, is that, anything land is good. So, always. Yeah.
Might not be exactly what you wanted.
Right.
But it's something.
It's something. Good.
You're going to get something back out of it. That's why people always say, buy land.
Right.
It's the only thing they can't make more of. So,
right.
Buy it, let it turn into something, and you'll get it back times 10 most of the time. Right. Especially, the people that sit on it forever and fight it. Right. They end up winning 10 times over.
Millions of dollars. Yeah. Millions of dollars.
Yeah.
On the table. Mm-hmm. Okay. So that's pretty interesting that that is a strategy for the commercial side. And you asked me all of what I feel is commercial, but even we manage land. So sometimes the land even has to be managed through our company.
Right.
Because a lot of times our people that seek us out as a property management company, they don't necessarily live here. They just got a lot of land, right. Or they got buildings and different things, and they don't even live here. A lot of them are on the island, or living on their boats and yachts, and they're not necessarily even living here. They just put somebody else in charge to oversee things to make sure that they are the aesthetically the way that it needs to be. Mm-hmm. So that's interesting. Right. Well, hit me with another one. What's another good?
So getting on to, because like I said, there's a million different things in commercial that we could talk about.
All day.
Trying to stick to something that I know is a little niche that you have is these foreclosures. So that goes between commercial sites to residential to all over the board, right? That's
right.
Things you bring into.
Right.
Give us a little backstory on where you got into that little niche.
That little niche became a part of our corporation back during COVID. So COVID, you know how they say always something bad, something good comes out of it?
Right.
And I'm a true believer in that. I'm just not, every time you watch this podcast, you're probably going to get a nugget of some type of motivational something to get you out the slumps, right? Mm-hmm. But that was such a horrible time for America. Such a touching time. So many, lives lost during that time. And it's almost like a blur. Like we just woke up and we just started walking again, right. As if nothing happened. And we haven't really even dived into that in real estate, right? So the foreclosure side for residential, high-end residential, and the commercial side we were managing. But we were managing these portfolios for the banking institutions because they could not afford how they were living because everyone was forced to stay home.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah. Stay home.
Yeah.
Stay home.
Yeah, and I know.
And we'll come get your house.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Stay home. So that was a very interesting time.
Yeah. And I know you mentioned the other day we were kind of talking about that just because I've been interested in all the routes that you go with all of this. So I was looking up I didn't think about that, and I know that we've talked about in the real estate industry, it's coming, foreclosure coming. Yeah. Those houses were pumping out, and usually that's a sign that if houses are selling that quick, people are getting in over their head a little bit.
Yeah.
You're going to see a flip of foreclosure, and you can see that by numbers that I looked up.
What numbers do you have? What did you pull up?
2021, it was down to 62 foreclosures in Harris County. That's it. 62, which I would assume more in Harris County.
And what year? What year?
From 2020 through the first of 2021.
Okay.
The end of 2021 into 2022, you had a 115% increase.
115%. So that explains why my phone was ringing off the hook. Mm-hmm. Yeah. During that time frame was hardly no sleep.
Yeah.
And they were coming in like a dam that had broke because so yes, it was very sad for those and a lot of them, this is one of the biggest things about me. So it was touching to have to go by there because I usually would have to go by there, put eyes on it, let the bank know and let everybody know what the scenario and the situation was by taking up a few pictures, maybe. And the saddest part is to see people's families that were banned to stay home or whatever, or didn't have jobs anymore.
Right.
That was just kind of out there, like trying to make do with what they had, and they were in like $1 million homes.
What I wish I knew at the start. Trusting Blue Scorpion Property Preservation Management Group with our commercial landscaping was the best decision ever. Blue Scorpion Property Preservation Management Group has been transforming commercial spaces into green paradises. Our clients can't stop raving about us. Just listen to what they have to say.
First client review. Our property has never looked this good. 5 stars all the way.
Second client review. Professional, reliable, and simply the best in the business. 5-star service.
From lush green lawns to vibrant floral displays, we've got it all covered. Our dedicated team ensures your property not only looks great but stands out.
Third client review. Their attention to detail is incredible. Our landscaping has never been in better hands. 5 stars.
Whether you're a business or an individual, Blue Scorpion Property Preservation Management Group brings expertise, reliability, and a touch of magic to every project. Ready to transform your property? Join the 5-Star Club! Because at Blue Scorpion Property Preservation Management Group, we believe every property deserves to shine. Blue Scorpion Property Preservation Management Group, where properties thrive.
Like that was, they were enjoying the last of their $1 million homes, at the pool at their house or what have you. The crazy part about it is during that time, I did take it upon myself to be more compassionate.
Right.
To be more understanding. To be, when we would actually have to do a report, I would tell them, I'm having to do the report. I'm going to be praying that you keep your home. I hate that you're going through this. I hate the world is going through this. But however, I still had a job to do.
Right.
So I would, not only just me and my team, I would have Monday morning meetings with my team and saying, remember, that could be you.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're out there in the field, don't be argumentative, don't be compassionate. And out of that, we established so many great, we talked about it, relationships.
Yeah.
And they said, I never met anyone that was working with the people that's foreclosing our house had so much compassion. I remember even just being at the doorways of $1 million homes, praying for people and just saying, I hope everything works out. Have you updated your LinkedIn? I mean, that's not a part of the job description.
Right.
Like, what?
Yeah.
And I think that in the commercial realm and even in, when we would go out to commercials for foreclosures, it was the same. I'm like, oh my God, they got all this shipment in here and they're about to lose this. They put everything that they had in it. So I would have many times where I'm, just kind of, praying for them, talking to them. And I've formed so many great relationships, probably about 200 to 300 relationships off of that.
Yeah.
Seriously.
So do you help tie them in to say, I know this is happening.
Right.
You've let it get to the point now.
Right.
This is going to happen, but I know a way for you to continue after this.
Correct.
There's a way to come up from this and get all of your life back.
Short sales, all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah. So that was like, it was almost like the right. Where I'm bringing them through a tunnel, but some people would have just took the job that they work for, the company that they work for, and, and just did their job and just let it be.
Yeah.
But I did the extra steps because at the end of the day, the banks don't want to own 5 to 6, because right. They have to pay me to maintain it, which I was probably cutting my money short because I could have maintained it, got them out. But the thing is that why do that? I think the universe and the world works better when you are a light in a dark place.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at those times during COVID and even coming out of COVID, I was a light in a dark place for commercial and, residential, high-end luxury
right.
People that never seen it coming. Like, we never seen this coming, right?
Yeah.
What was the rest of the stats?
Well, going into 2024, and it says that there's a trend that they see in 2024, there's an increase each quarter So 4%, 13, 25.
Wow.
Fourth quarter was 34. So it starts actually decreasing in 2024.
Because things got better. Things start getting better.
Yep. But they say 2025, we're already experiencing an increase again, back up to 20% increase filings in 2025.
I wonder why.
Yep. Like,
I wonder why,
what do you
because,
think?
well, one of the biggest things that I'm seeing now, which is kind of strange, and I've been trying to watch the trends of that too, and we're probably going to have to give somebody on banking on our podcast as well, because I'm just a retired banker from that industry and not care to go back. But what I did, I mean, I don't know what's making it, but what I've been seeing is a lot of banks have been buying land and making homes for rent.
Interesting.
I mean, you can actually Google that. Like, banks have been purchasing land and actually been putting homes on land for people to rent. So I'm like, when did they get in the market of that?
Right.
And what is making them get into the market of that?
Mm-hmm.
And do I need to jump in here and make money too?
Right.
Like, what is happening? You know, so I don't know.
They're working just as like we do. We got to figure out ways to protect our assets.
Correct.
So I do know, because part of my family is in the banking industry too.
Oh, ask that question.
All sides of real estate, everything.
Y'all knock
and
it
so
out.
I know own the market.
Right.
But we, I know that they would buy. My family would talk about random things like the bank-owned country clubs for a little bit. So I was like, what?
What?
Why do they have a country club and a car wash and all this stuff?
The banks owning it.
And some of it would come from foreclosing and stuff like that.
Okay.
And they would just hang on to it because they knew they could still make some money out of it.
Was it still operating?
So they had cash flow. Yeah.
So it's still operating?
Yeah. And
Wow.
it was just an entity of the bank that they started. They knew they needed cash flow a little bit because they're not making money off their loans like they were, which is probably what was happening during this time.
Correct.
They're not making money like they were off their loans. So, okay, because nobody's paying their bills.
Right.
So we're going to have to own something that's bringing in money for us.
Bringing in some revenue.
So let's get into the real estate industry a little bit more and own our own real estate and have a steady income of rentals.
Well, and that's probably the uptick that I'm seeing now.
Right.
Because even in the area of Spring is happening. Mm-hmm. Like, big houses. I can't even wait to walk one of them to see the inside of it. But yeah, that has been a new thing that's been happening.
Gotta protect your assets.
Gotta protect your assets.
Yeah, I heard an analogy of that one time. It's like when you're a little kid and you're playing with your Legos, but someone over here wants one of your Legos, and you're like holding all your, you're still trying to play, but you're like wrapped around your
right.
You got your Legos in your mind. I'm trying to build my little house.
But it's like Monopoly then.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like Monopoly. Who can get the most on the board of land acquired, and then at the same time, what can we put on here and then protect our assets?
Right. Yeah, which we'll get into that some other time with. How you don't even, whenever you're playing Monopoly, you don't have to have all the money in the bank that you need down here, but you own the whole board.
Right.
So, and guess what? All that money's going to come back as people go around the board.
Right.
So it'll come
building
back.
It up. Yeah, building it up. But it's a strategy.
Mm-hmm.
It's a strategy, and most people don't know the strategy. So we go from commercial to real estate. What is commercial for me? What it looks like? It's a bunch of things. It's hard to just concrete it on one thing because it can be Mod Podge.
Right.
So it's a bunch of things, but you need to study your industry constantly to even understand it because there's so many things happening at one time.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing in that is finding what is needed.
Okay.
So finding commercials all about what's not there.
Right.
What does that area need?
Right.
Does it need more houses? Does it need a fast food restaurant?
Right.
Does it need a shopping center?
Well, Spring need more fancier restaurants.
Yeah.
Like for real.
Yeah.
Like we're driving to the Woodlands and we're driving other places to get that fancy experience.
Right.
I think we are kind of saturated with like a lot of fast food chains.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think a lot of areas probably are. Those are probably the cheaper things to whatever it is. It doesn't matter to me because at the end of the day, our our corporation will manage it.
Right.
You know, so if it's a fast food or if it's
I don't care what you got.
Yeah, whatever you got. You know, you can have dry cleaners. We'll take care of you.
Discriminate.
Yeah, we don't. But I am looking forward to, and maybe you didn't know, or maybe you know, I'm looking forward to the Ritz-Carlton.
Yeah.
That is going to be off of Hughes Landing.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be an experience.
It is.
That's going to be, and I'm just going to book a room just to stay.
Yeah, my little staycation.
The little staycation just to feel it and stay, but it's right off the water.
Right.
And I've been watching it every day being built in the Woodlands off of Hughes Landing. So that's going to be very exciting to see that lavish upscale lifestyle there in the Woodlands.
Yep.
In the
I
Hughes
think that's
Landing.
awesome. And it kind of feeds back into like the Mitchells who developed it. That's what I know their vision changed because it blew up bigger than what they ever thought. They'd never ever pictured it being what it is.
Right.
But I think what you'll see with it is everyone's trying to keep that up, the luxury feel that they've kind of geared towards the whole time. Okay, well now these new developers are like, yes, it got too big,
Right.
or bigger than what they had hoped.
Right.
But we can still bring that luxury feel. We're not going to let it pile in here with these homes, getting devalued because of life and
I've seen
policies.
some new homes coming off of the actual water. So there's been a lot of new homes coming off the water there as well. It would be nice at that particular time for that commercial development to be a part of my portfolio.
Right. Yeah.
But I would love to see like the Ritz-Carlton smaller boat there at that location. I think that'll be a luxury because it's already a lake that you can kind of cruise on through. But I think that, and it could, stop at, cruise dock, stop around the Del Frisco area, the True Lux, and just dock there. But I think that would be a wonderful experience to add as an addition to that. And I'm pretty sure they got the whole master plan laid out. I actually seen a snapshot of it. So I'm excited for that. What else we got?
Me too.
Got a little bit more time left, and
okay. Going into what all do you have in your real estate portfolio right now?
oh gosh, we have pretty much we have different sectors. What I'm really extremely proud of is the way that we have diversified our because I told you we got rid of a lot of things.
Yeah, you told me that. You toned it back a little bit.
We toned it back so we can focus. And the focus now currently is our commercial side. Our commercial side of our business along with the higher end homes, which is, a few of them here and there, but the commercial side is for us is what we're really focusing in on. And we're just shaving away things. So first quarter is over. We're now in our second. I know. Merry Christmas.
I know. That's what it
Happy
feels
New
like.
Year. Yeah. No, we're done with the first quarter. So the first quarter was very lovely and very good to us. And now we're moving and diving into the second quarter. And the second quarter brings so much more because now it's the release of the first quarter, because usually you're in an uproar. Corporate taxes are due first quarter.
Yeah.
If you have a corporation, is due the first quarter. So now, you go into the second quarter is your personal taxes, kind of. Yeah. and now we're rocking and rolling with that. But one thing I can say about the commercial side is that you got another different entity that we didn't talk about. We didn't talk about like the city side for commercial, because those are accounts too.
Right.
The city and the county.
Right.
Because they have to also be maintained. As a lot of times the city and the county don't necessarily maintain their own stuff. Mm-hmm. They actually have books. They have commercial stuff on the books sitting. Some are abandoned buildings and different things of that nature, but they still have to be cared after and looked for. So when we're moving into that second quarter, that's what we're doing. We're just trying to fine tune things and get them to where they need to be so we can add more that is an asset and a value to us, to make us more.
Yeah.
Real estate side, for you, what commercial things y'all got going on or moving into the second quarter, I guess, to say?
I have broke off from my whole team a little bit and got into. So my team was focusing on just sales, commercial wise. Okay. So we pick up, a commercial building, we tee it up to make it applicable what could go there. Okay. And get it sold. Then I get it wrapped into by doing this, by creating relationships with some of these people. They're like, because I always have this consultation of, why do you want to sell type of thing? Right. What are you looking for? What's your next step? Right. To kind of get, because I also can get business, from them for the next steps. Because some people think, I'm using you for this, I'm going to go use Joe Blow over here for something else. Right. Well, no, just tell me what you got
going on. One stop shop.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
One stop shop. I love it. I love it. I love it. And that's why we team together.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think the relationships and I don't need to go to school to go get my real estate license again. I let that be, and I dropped it, right? Years ago. I used to have one. You team up and collaborate. Right. And make that mountain a little bit higher and bigger. So now you're in the development side of stuff, and you're diving into that on commercial. Yep. Development commercial. Yep. Which was a big jump, and we're still forming everything with that. Wonderful. Wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's been a lot. And how that came about is, so that client that I had a large property with downtown was going to sell because times were getting tough. Right. He was like, I know I need to protect my assets. Right. I'm going to get rid of it for now. Right. I'll redo this somewhere else. Right. Because he has that mindset. He's not going to let himself get squashed. Right. But he knows when he needs to make a move. Right. Well, he gets himself back in a good position that he says, I changed my mind. Will you come down and meet with me? So he starts talking about what he's next working on, what he's dreamed of doing. And he wants to use his property for our first little go-to. And I can't tell everything right now. We're
right. Keep it on wraps. Keep it on wraps. But don't mess up your money.
So while we're setting, I don't want to give it all away.
Yeah, don't do that.
So while we're sitting there, he was saying, I guess we need to bring in a development group, and I need to do this. And I said, well, I already have a builder on hand that I use for that, and I already have financing for stuff like this. I mean, all of a developer is doing all of those things. Right. He or they, the team of a developer, is who organizes all of that stuff. Right. I said, you and I are already doing that, and we already have that in place. Right. Why would we go pay somebody else to reset up what we just did, and you lose your position in the business?
Your investment in the position in it.
Yeah, right. So you won't be able to control it like you're wanting to. Right. Because they're going to say, no, we think this would work better. We're going to do this. Right.
And we're talking high level stuff here. Right. Like, we're talking high level stuff. We're talking in the millions and millions of dollars here.
$30 million project.
$30 million project. And that's literally me and Austin talking about it. For some that's watching, you're probably like, $30 million. Yeah. That's, for some, that's play money. Yeah. For us, we look at it like, that's play money. You're like, bring some more. Right. Bring some more. Like, you can spend $30 million really quick. Yeah. It's really quick. So, congratulations on that project. Yeah. And the development of everything. You could put those hats on, because I did lots of development when we were the Spring Klein Chamber. When I was the Spring Klein Chamber president. So that's a hat to wear, and that was good. Yeah, it was good that emerged from that commercial to now we're working on a developmental portfolio page for it. That's awesome. That's awesome.
It's a lot.
Well, as we wrap it up here, any closing words you'd like to, say?
Be careful when you're getting into commercial.
Watch
because there's a lot to it.
It is.
A lot more than residential, for sure.
It is.
Obviously. It is. Yeah.
And you got to have good people around you.
Yeah, you do. You always have to have a team.
You have to have a team. No individual stuff.
Yeah. I will never try to figure it all out on my own. Which I do believe people can do it, but there's no reason to. Right. And
people make a lot of mistakes. Yep. I was just going to say attorney fees. Yeah. People make, that's what so people make a lot of mistakes when it comes to that commercial side, and we'll dive more deeper into it. And get the listeners, more. We're just scratching the surface right now, but as always, when we close out, I just like to always wish everyone to stay healthy, wealthy, and wise. And me and Austin will do the same.
I love it.
Bye.
Okay, thanks.